One overriding question: are Democrats moving too far to the left? Is the party, as President Trump contends, embracing socialism? Does that make voters nervous? And what does socialism really mean in the 21st century?
To some extent, this discussion about socialism versus capitalism is a real distraction. Because pure socialism, right, in its pure form, which is government controlling production, is a terrible idea. And it's the wrong answer to every question. But if you really look at the United States of America historically, we've been a capitalistic country with strong social programs. And that's all we got to do. That's what we got to get back to. I mean, capitalism is the greatest innovation and job creation machine ever. And it is the reason the United States is the strongest nation in the world. But we always, as I said, moderated capitalism, right? Because left to its own devices, it's highly disruptive. We moderated capitalism with appropriate tax policy, right? Having a tax code that's fair, appropriate regulations, making sure workers have rights, and by building societal infrastructure. Social Security is societal infrastructure. Public education is societal infrastructure. Medicare is societal infrastructure. And what's happened over the last 20 years is we stopped doing that stuff. We've been fighting, we haven't done anything, and so there's been too much disruption caused by kind of capitalism being unchecked, if you will. So my solution is not to get rid of capitalism. That's a terrible idea. And replace it with socialism. That's a disaster. But what we should do is make capitalism more just and inclusive. And the way you do that is with tax policy, regulations, and importantly, societal infrastructure.
I think there's a newer generation that didn't live to see the days when socialism and communism were viewed as pretty much the same thing. And you were either for that or you were for capitalism and democracy. I think a newer generation that didn't live through the Cold War is asking about all the times democracy and capitalism come into tension. I think we're a society that is built by the extraordinary productive power of capitalism. But you can't have capitalism, in my view, you can't have capitalism work well unless you also have a robust democracy that can constrain the excesses of that capitalism. And to me, if you want to see what happens when you don't have that, look at Russia. So just as Russia was a warning sign around a certain kind of communism a generation ago, now it shows you exactly what happens when you have private markets but no rule of law. And what happens is cronyism, of course. So labels are going to be thrown around, especially by this president who seems to be on a kick of using this as a way to kind of shut down debate. And there are others who are embracing the labels. To me, I want to move through the labels and just talk about what works.
Audience members came from all over New Hampshire to be part of these conversations, representing the concerns and constituents of dozens of towns. We sat down with 3 of those undecided voters to get their thoughts on the process. What's been some of the takeaway for you of seeing so many of these candidates in person?
It's spectacular. It seems distinctly New Hampshire, first in the nation. I've lived here for 30 years, and we're a neighborhood kind of government. And I think the conversations with the candidates bring a national discussion into our neighborhoods, and to be able to ask the questions directly, you know, within 5 feet of them. This is history right in front of us. The compassion, I want to know, are they compassionate? Do they have expertise? And it's a delight. It feels very personal, and to be able to share this with the Granite Staters, it's a pleasure.
And Elizabeth, you haven't really been afraid to go there with some of the big questions in terms of the biggest issues facing these candidates. Why have you made it a priority to really not flinch from some of those big questions?
Well, I think that I have tried to lead by example for our candidates, in that we should feel that we can ask hard questions, and they need to be accountable to us. I've made it a point to see every single candidate, and I've made it a point to hear every single candidate, because I want the candidates to hear me. I want them to hear my voice. And so as far as asking hard questions, why wouldn't I ask hard questions? These are hard times. And if you're going to lead a nation of over 300 million people, you have to be able to answer a question from a mom in New Hampshire.
And sometimes they're the hardest questions, though.
Yes.
Ken, describe for us, what do you get in person that you might not get at a rally, in person as well, but on TV or something like that?
Oh, I think it's totally different. I mean, I feel like you really get a chance to vet a particular candidate. They do get put on the spot. After a while, it seems like their answers kind of mesh together. They seem to be echoing each other in certain ways, which I find to be interesting. We just moved here like 3.5 years ago from Maryland, and I've been a political junkie forever, so this is heaven to me. I mean, this is just great. But I've learned quite a bit about these people that I never knew before. And I really like to find out how compassionate they are about things, because I think we need that in this country now.
As you saw, these conversations got intense, they got emotional, and they got personal. Here are some of the moments that offer a glimpse into what shaped these candidates, what brings a smile to their face, and what keeps them going every day.
So I was raised by a single mom, parents divorced in grade school. Lived paycheck to paycheck. I only knew there was a governor's house in town because I delivered newspapers to it. So I've made it 4 blocks in life. But yeah, so went to college sight unseen. The idea of college trips were well beyond, and worked my way through college. I picked up my classmates' plates. I borrowed my way through law school. I think that gave me a perspective of, but somehow I still had that shot, right, of going from delivering newspapers to governor's house as a kid to raising my kids with my wife, our 3 kids, in it.
I wouldn't be here without my mom. First, my mom raised me as a single mother, my brother and me. She worked very hard to support us and to support her mom, my grandmother. And my mom was the first in her family to graduate from high school and then to get to go on to college. She was also a hellraiser. She was involved in women's empowerment issues and Hispanic issues when she was young. And so she raised my brother and me to believe that you can make a difference in the democratic process. And I thank God every single day that I grew up with the mother that I grew up with. And I'll always remember the lessons that she taught me if I'm president.
You either give up in the face of the kind of terror that we saw in El Paso, where 22 people were killed in a city that loses 18 people in a given year. You're either consumed by the suffering and the tragedy of it. You either accept it as an act of God or a future or a fate, or you stand up and do something about it. And I feel so compelled to do that right now, especially given where this country is and what we just saw in El Paso, especially given the fact that the judgment I fear most of all is that of my children and your children. And they are counting on us right now to do the right thing.
I come from the place of strongly believing we have more in common than what separates us. So my agenda, I call it the 3 a.m. agenda. And by that I mean this. 3 a.m. Some people call that the witching hour, right? The middle of the night. When we wake up in the middle of the night with that thought that's been weighing on us. Well, for the vast majority of us, when we wake up thinking that thought, it is never through the lens of the party with which we're registered to vote.
When my son, Bo, died, he was my soul. And, but the other piece of it was with Bo, because he had gone through it as a kid with me and he knew he was dying, is that he said to me, that's why I wrote the book about my son. He said, promise me, Dad. Not a joke, promise me, Dad. He said, I'm going to be okay no matter what happens. And he knew he had only months. But he said, Dad, promise me you're going to be okay.
It breaks my heart to see, and I know people who I've served with. One of my soldiers during my second deployment deployed many times, came home and eventually lost that battle here at home and took his own life. So this hits close to home, and why it's so important for us to deal with this stigma and to dedicate whatever resources are necessary.
Until very recently, we thought my grandfather had died from Alzheimer's disease. He had had it for 20 years. He was the grandparent that I mentioned earlier who had come from Poland. Now we're unsure whether it was because of Alzheimer's or because of the beatings that he suffered during World War II. But in any event, the outcome was the same. And because of his experience and because of my family's own experience, I have supported absolutely every dollar for funding of Alzheimer's and increased funding for Alzheimer's every year that I've been in the Senate.
Probably the most challenging time in my life was earlier this year when we lost my father. We lost him to cancer. And the whole process was one where, I mean, he got excellent medical care. It was very difficult though. I make decisions for a living, but nothing could have prepared me for some of the end-of-life decisions that our family faced. One thing I learned about it was the closeness of our family. Sorry, you're taking me to a tough place. The importance of my marriage. My husband absolutely just propped our family up. Helped my father in his last days, helps my mother right now, helps me.
I'm the son of an immigrant. My father came to this country without a nickel in his pocket, never made much money, but he came from Poland at the age of 17 and became the proudest American that you ever saw, because this country enabled him to raise 2 kids, and at least with a working class standard of living. So I know a little bit about the experience of immigrants.
You know, I've always been an underdog. Being the son of immigrants, my parents came from Jamaica. My father was a contract sugarcane cutter. My mother was a cook that used to go out in the fields to feed them. You know, I was never expected to go to Florida State University to play football for legendary coach Bobby Bowden, much less win a national championship, to wear an NFL uniform, to be the first black mayor of a very diverse city, one of the largest cities in the state of Florida, and to even be contemplated as president. So I've been an underdog all my life. I've been the dark horse all my life.
I'm not just a philosopher. I am someone whose work, having founded AIDS organizations, having founded peace organizations, and having worked on anti-poverty efforts throughout my adult career. I'm a very practical woman. I don't just talk. You don't see me in cut velvet. You know, I'm not just pink paint and crystals. I'm into getting things done.
We come from a beloved community. That's our history. When we stand up for each other, when we reach out to each other, patriotism is love of country, and you cannot love your country unless you love your fellow countrymen and women. We may not always agree, but love says that if your kids don't have a great public education, my kids are worse off. If your parents don't have great health care, then my family is less secure. That injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Love is not a sentiment, it is demanding, it is sacrifice, it's actions. And now, I'm sorry, this may not be the word you want to hear in a presidential election, but we need more love in this country.
I have proposed this because of personal experience myself with my dad, who struggled with alcoholism his whole life. He had 2 DWIs when I was in middle school, and then he got his 3rd when I was just about to get married in the 90s. And that was when the rules changed, and you could choose between jail or treatment, and he chose treatment. And our family was there, and I told him what it was like growing up when I had to take the keys away from him, when he was driving drunk, or when he wasn't there for graduations. And through the whole thing, I love my dad. I think it's made me a better legislator because of that, and a better president I will be.
I grew up in a family that just wasn't political. And even as an adult with, you know, kids and teaching school and doing my research, politics was not front and center for me. But politics, what I began to understand was through my research. So my research was on why families go broke, why America's middle class is being hollowed out.
I never knew whether members of my cabinet or people working with me were pro-choice or pro-life. I do see both sides of that issue. My wife and I had that issue come up once where one of our kids, it was not a problem pregnancy, but there was an issue creating risk. And there was some suggestion from the doctors and the medical people handling the case that maybe we should consider terminating the pregnancy. And we said, are you kidding? And the reason for that is that we didn't want them making that decision. We wanted to make that decision. And that's the basis for my long-time held pro-choice position.
I mean, one of the things you guys may know about me is that my dad was a lawyer who interrupted his law practice to go in the Navy in World War II and prosecuted the Nazis at Nuremberg. So when you think about what the United States traditionally stands for, we stand for moral leadership in the world. Oh, we always have. That's always been the point of this country. I mean, we started out being for freedom and justice.
I was here a couple weeks ago, and I was driving. You had a snowstorm. and we were just driving around, and I was taking pictures and sending it to my team. I was like, it doesn't get better than campaigning in New Hampshire with some fresh snow on the ground. So.
Well over 200 towns in this state, and as the late great Senator John McCain once said, each town is its own political universe. So
well, you do have a very unique political system here. Someone here didn't trust government, right? Because I mean, they created a system that has a lot of checks and balances. Let's put it that way.
You went to Phillips Exeter Academy here in New Hampshire.
Yes, I did.
What is your fondest memory of the Granite State, having spent a formative part of your youth here?
I learned to ski as a junior in high school, and I'd never skied before. And then there was like a ski trip at Exeter, and then I was like, I'm going to learn to ski. And so like I got on that bus, and it was a painful day. It was a very painful day. But then I was very proud of myself that I managed to catch up to my friends and like go down the slopes by the end of the day.
What was your favorite thing about living here when you went to UNH Law, then Franklin Pierce Law School?
Oh, the fall. I mean, are you kidding me? You can't even explain it to people. We have on our TV set at home, when it goes quiet and they start flashing pictures, and one of the pictures has got to be from New Hampshire. I mean, the leaves are so vivid, and I would tell my wife, I'm like, that's got to be New Hampshire. So the fall in New Hampshire, oh, nothing like it. So I'm going to be here a lot in the fall, okay?
You've heard from a lot of presidential candidates this hour, but there were even more. We've actually held 25 town halls. Several of those candidates are no longer in the race, but you can find their conversations on our website and mobile app. That's where you can also see the full hour-long shows for each of tonight's candidates and learn much more about their politics and personalities. All part of our commitment to helping you make an informed choice in 2020. Thanks for joining us, and make sure to stay with us on air and on our digital platforms for all things political through the 2020 elections.